Primordial Radio.
It's Adam here on Primordial Radio, and this is the Primordial Radio Residency, where I'm delighted to be joined by Rachel and James from Cage Fight. How are you guys doing?
Very well, thanks. How are you, Adam?
I'm really good, really excited. We're going to have 4 weeks of you guys picking the tunes and also playing some of your own tunes, and we're going to start off show 1, week 1, with Hope Castrated from your debut album. Let's go.
Ooh.
So that was Cage Fight with Hope Castrated. Now, about that song, it's quite odd, actually, because when you look on Spotify, and I don't know if bands like this, but it shows the plays. And actually, the most plays for that song was from when you released the demo back in, I think, was it 2021 you released the demo for that track?
It was, yeah. That was basically, things happened really, really quickly. We started working together as a 4-piece from January and got together a bunch of demos really quickly. And that was the one we felt was like the most complete and ready to go at the time. And we thought, let's just put it out. Let's go. Let's see what happens. We put that online in May, I think. And then that's sort of, I guess, where everything sort of took off a little bit for us, which was great.
For a demo, it sounds pretty fully formed. There's not like a huge difference between that and the album version. Now, obviously, you guys, how were you getting together? Because it was still sort of difficult times to travel and do that sort of thing. How did it all come about? I know, Rachel, I know you were looking for a new musical project and you were posting loads of covers and sort of that sort of thing online.
Yeah.
How did you guys, how did Cage Fight come from there?
Well, everything was online because I think we're still in a period of lockdown at the beginning of 2021, weren't we? I guess John, the bassist, and I have been working on some ideas on and off, kicking around. And then I reached out to Rachel in February after seeing one of the covers and thinking, that voice would work really, really well. And we basically just started demoing remotely. I think you were still in France at the time, weren't you?
Yeah, I was in France and I was at my parents. I didn't have all my material, so I had to order quickly cables and stuff to record. Yeah.
But yeah, it just happened really quickly, just online. We're demoing in my shed, which is where we are now. This is where I do most of my music. Rachel was in her bedroom at her parents' house, and John was in his bedroom, and it was just all done over email, really. And the drums are programmed, and it was mixed by Akel from TesseracT, and he's basically a master of making things in a bedroom sound really good, which is kind of what most TesseracT is, to be fair. So he managed to really polish it up and make it sound release worthy.
It does sound release worthy, and obviously it was the springboard for you guys now. Now, on the radio residency, we can't just play Cage Fight. We want to hear some of the things that you guys love, some of the inspirations that's got you there. And James, you're going to kick us off with a couple of your inspirations. Firstly, with Slayer. Tell us a little bit about this.
Well, I think I was a teenager in the 90s, which is when Slayer were, kind of definitely one of the most exciting metal bands. I mean, I guess it's their 80s works, what they're famous for, but I wasn't not old enough to have listened to them in the 80s, unfortunately. But they were just a huge inspiration on me in terms of just controlled chaotic, like fast, like extreme guitar playing, really. Like lots of, the riffs are all incredibly thrashy. Really interesting uses of melody, which I don't think any other thrash bands were doing at the time. At least to my ears, they weren't. I think just the energy, the visceral power of Slayer. In particular, there's a live album they had called Decade of Aggression, which apparently turned, I think, 31 this year, which is crazy. But that was a real game changer for me. And I've always wanted to do something like that, but I've never been in a band that had that kind of approach. And Cage Fight was an opportunity to try and take some of that energy and chaotic speed of Slayer and put it into another project.
Now, what's the track? Slayer and?
We're just going to go with a balls out, ridiculous, fast thrash number called War Ensemble.
You just heard Madball, Can't Stop, Won't Stop, which is another one of James's inspiration. Open up on that a little bit for us if you can.
I guess it kind of, for me, reflects the other side of Cage Fight. It's because we're kind of, sort of crossing over thrash with hardcore, and one thing that Madball are masters of is the sort of like the punk rock attitude, but with the like the bounce and the groove. Like, what I love about that song is that it's fast hardcore punk, and then the ending just bounces, and it's something that we kind of try to fuse with like the Slayer chaos, if you like.
So if they're your inspirations, Rachel, you've brought a couple of tracks as well that you want to play. Firstly, we've got Walls of Jericho and Trigger Full of Promises. What is it about that track that you want to bring it onto the show for?
Yeah, so I was listening to pretty softer music before that. I had a friend at school that just brought me a CD, and it was this, and there was no name on the CD. It was just engraved and stuff. And when I listened to it, it was talking to me immediately. I was like, this is amazing. It's violent. And then I realized it was a girl. So I was like, this is what I need to do. I want to do this. So it's a big, big influence for me.
So before that, were you not, were you not thinking of singing in the way that you sing before you heard this song? Was this really like the turning point?
Well, I was slowly getting to it. Like I was just like listening to punk rock and stuff like this, and a bit of metal symphonic, but yeah, this was the heaviest.
That was Soilwork with Nerve. Rachel, that was another one of your choices here on the Radio Residency. Tell us a little bit about that track.
So this is one of the first covers I did, and I posted on YouTube because I was trying to get a YouTube channel. And so why I did this is because I thought that his voice is very clear, and I really like the way he was screaming. For me, it was like something else. So it's a big influence, yeah.
And you guys, considering you've only been together since, what we just spoke about, that 2021, you've done some big gigs, some fantastic gigs. And we're going to play a couple of the bands that you have toured with, starting with one of my all-time favourites, Sepultura.
Absolutely. I mean, I think both of us are massive fans of Sepultura, and probably could have gone for something a bit more. I absolutely love Roots, and I saw them on, I think it was 97 when they played their show at Brixton the night they split up, and it was absolutely incredible. I know it's much cooler to like play something off one of the earlier records, but I've got a real kind of attachment to the Roots album.
Roots is one of my favourite albums. Chaos AD as well. Absolutely love it. But I don't know that much about them. Do you know much about that album recording and when how they did it? Because all I know is it was apparently in a rainforest.
Yeah, I think they did a lot of the tribal drums out in in the wilderness with like some indigenous people involved as well. They did a little bit of that on KSAD as well, actually, but it was Roots where they really explored it. Like the song Ratamahata is full of tons of tribal drums. And I know it's great. I love it. Right,
well, let's get it on now. This is Sepultura with Roots. So that was Cage Fight, Shine, Don't Fade. Delighted to be joined by James and Rachel. Tell us a little bit about that track. It's off your debut album.
It's the first track we have a music video for.
Yeah, we launched our album with that song. It's just felt like a nice straight up track to really start the campaign earlier this year. And going back to last week's show, this is kind of very much what I was saying earlier about the mixture between like sort of like thrashy chaos of Slayer, but with a bounce of a band like Madball or Biohazard or something like that. So it's quite representative of the average sound we're aiming for, I suppose.
So would you say if you were, aliens came down and said, I want to hear one Cage Fight song, would this be it?
I think it potentially, yeah. Yeah, I reckon so. Why not?
Of course. The aliens might not land in the UK. They might land in France. There's a lot more space, lots of fields for crop circles and all of that. And this week, James, you've given me some brilliant notes of things to talk about. And this is France Has Got Talent, this section here. Now, it was about 10 years ago. And Rachel, you went viral, didn't you, with France Has Got Talent, which I think any of our British listeners can understand what that's going to be. But tell us a little bit about that.
So at the time I was bored in my life. I couldn't find a band because in south of France, where I'm from, there's not a lot of musicians and it's pretty difficult. So I wanted to find a way to get more exposure. So I was like, there's France Got Talent, I'm going to try it. So they were interested immediately and I had to pick up a song. So I was listening to a lot of Hatebreed at the time, and I reached out to them and they said, yeah, sure, we give you the instrumental of this song. So
did it feel like straight away, did you feel like you kind of shot to fame from doing France Has Got Talent? Was it quite a shock?
When I did it, it was crazy. Someone posted the video on YouTube and during the night, every hour it was 100,000 views more. And the day after, it was 16 million views or something. Like right now, it's 16 million. So this really helped me to talk to more musicians.
Well, we're going to play that track now. So this is Hatebreed with Emma O. So that was Morbid Angel, Where the Slime Live. And from what you've just told me off mic, Rachel, you must have had some pretty cool friends or people introducing you to some pretty cool music, because you discovered this in school.
Yeah, it was just a little group of people. I was trying to discover new music, and they told me, yeah, listen to this. And I heard this song. I was like, cool. So I just tried to cover it.
What age did you get into metal? And this actually, same question for you, James, because I always find that, you know, it took some people in school who were like a little bit older than me. I think for me, it was my now brother-in-law, you know, to kind of say, oh, you like guitar, right? Okay. Oh, you're listening to this. Try, you know, and he like pushed me into Metallica. So what age did you guys kind of really get pushed into heavier stuff?
For me, I started very soft, like Linkin Park and stuff like this. I was 15. And then heavier and heavier.
James, what about you?
I'm trying to think where I guess the first band that I got into off my own back, through friends, was, I guess, does Guns N' Roses count, when I was 12?
I think when you're 12, that's pretty, like,
that's pretty
going on for a 12-year-old,
cool.
Isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of swearing, which a 12-year-old just thinks is the greatest thing in the world, which probably helps. But then I suppose it was probably when I was about 14, I got into Metallica, and then Megadeth, Slayer, went down that whole kind of, again, in the 90s, sort of, the big bands of that era, and then Fear Factory, so on. Yeah.
Now I've got to ask you, because if you're saying it was in the 90s, did you get put onto 80s Metallica or 90s Metallica?
Well, I first got the Black Album because that was what was out when I discovered them, and then I worked my way back through their entire Black catalogue because I loved it so much. So I think I became a Metallica obsessive as a 14-year-old.
It's funny. They're just one of those bands that for some reason when you were a teenager, they just work. It was the same for me, and I did actually lose Metallica touch probably, you know, about a year or two after Death Magnetic, and then maybe just got back into them when they released the next one. But I've got a thing, and I get pelted for it quite a lot because I love Saint Anger.
To be honest, like I love everything up to the Black Album, and then I'm not really bothered after that. As a teenager, I really did like Load and Reload, but I think I was young. I didn't really know what was what. Then as I learned more about music and so on, and like I kind of went off those albums, but I still have all the love for everything from Kill 'Em All up to the Black Album.
Okay. See, I almost go the other way. It's funny that.
Wow.
Right, we're going to move on now to some other covers that you guys have done. Kicking off with Hatebreed, Looking Down the Barrel of Today.
Yes. Basically, when we were working on stuff early on, because Rachel had been doing lots of covers, we had an idea to just do another cover to kind of introduce the collaboration. Because this was before we put anything out, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think,
before we say we are doing a band.
So yeah, we recorded a cover of this and put it online, and it got a bit of attention, didn't it? A bit of like news media picked it up. It's like, oh, Rachel from Eths and James from TesseracT, what a weird combination, doing Hatebreed, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, we're just trying to see how people react.
And it's a really fun song.
How did people react initially? Because obviously, you know, TesseracT, it's a very different sort of band. And Eths as well. When I listened to Eths, they kind of they had a little bit of that groove and bounce. Actually, you guys, I found anyway. That was what I got from it from listening to a few tracks. How did the fans react? Because obviously you'll get some who'll be saying, "What a mad collaboration! This is awesome," and others who kind of want you to, you know. And I'm saying this for listeners with inverted commas, people who like bands to stick in their lanes.
Yeah, maybe yours.
Yeah, I think Rachel's audience definitely had a very positive response.
Yeah,
I think there was less interest from the TesseracT camp. I guess it was just a bit too straight up, simple, not enough weird time signatures and complicated melodies. But overall, I think it was a positive response. And 'cause, I mean, it's a banging tune, and it was a really fun cover, I think. And yeah.
Well, let's have a listen to the original now. This is Hatebreed with Looking Down the Barrel of Today. So that was Jinjer, Disclosure. We're playing stuff that you guys like right now. What is it about Jinjer that, you know, you love right now?
Well, I think that they're just a very impressive example of how perseverance and work hard working hard, going against the grain can really pay off. I mean, like they've been a band for, I don't know, probably like well over 10 years, and they've just basically grinded really hard, and are now, I guess, one of the most exciting bigger metal bands of today. And then you throw in what's going on in their own country, which is obviously horrendous, and they're doing the amazing thing of being ambassadors, basically spreading the word and
ambassadors for their country and for their genre as well.
Absolutely. I just think that they're just a real example of how brilliant like bands can be. I think they're great. And also on a slightly more funny note, Rachel finds them annoying because she gets sick and tired of people comparing her to Tatty.
There's nothing to compare to.
Well, it's true, because like musically they're very different, but it's just like, yeah.
Such a lazy thing in music, isn't it? That, I hate the term female fronted band. That isn't a genre. And it shouldn't be a genre. Do you get fed up with that in general?
Well, I'm used to it now. I would say I'm not paying attention to it because it's everyone. So.
No, I mean, you wouldn't. Yeah. I would just say, for example, Cage Fight. I wouldn't say they're, because I consider you guys heavy metal. I wouldn't say, oh, they're a female fronted metal band. No. They're a metal band. They're a great. You just go listen to them, basically. But when we talk about Jinjer, it's funny you said about bands who sort of persevere and push on. We often think, because you suddenly start hearing these bands on the radio, or you start seeing them, high up a bill in Bloodstock or something, and you think, wow, that's a meteoric rise. How have they got there? But it's like the tip of the iceberg, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this band's been grinding away forever. I mean, I think I first saw them at Tech Fest, mid tier, I don't know, about 6-7 years ago. And yeah, they basically just lived on the road, just grafting. And what I find quite interesting as well is a lot of the industry, especially in the UK, didn't really pick up on that. It was only really on the last album when they suddenly realised the kind of numbers they were doing on streaming services, and they were booked to go into like a 3,000 cap room in London, and everyone's like, oh my God, this band suddenly, where have they come from? And then...
It's just they haven't seen them. Right, we're going to play a silly song.
Yeah.
Last show we had a bit of Steel Panther. This show, we're going for some Powerwolf. Demons are a girl's best friend. Tell us a little bit about this.
I'm very much on my own with this one, I think. But I just find this band so entertaining. Like, it's just... I saw them live this summer, and it's just basically... It's almost like watching, I don't know, a theatrical performance, but like very tongue-in-cheek. I mean... The weird thing is, I don't think it is tongue-in-cheek. I think especially the German fans take it really, really seriously, and they all call themselves the Wolves. And like, it's very, very, very serious heavy metal, yeah, And but it's absolutely not serious. It's absolutely hilarious and comical. And I think that they must have a sense of humour with it, but apparently I've been told they don't. But whatever, it doesn't matter. I find it highly entertaining. It's great songs, huge choruses. Like, it's brilliantly well done, and they're touring in November, I believe, and I will be there right at the front.
Well, if we've got any wolves listening right now, we're going to play a very serious track. It's by the band Powerwolf. Demons are a girl's best friend. But for apparently anyone else, this is something a little bit silly.
Let's go.
So that was Cage Fight with 1 minute. And I did ask, just before that song, I said, what could you guys have been doing if that hadn't, if that demo hadn't worked and, you didn't want to work on it? But Rachel, I know that you were looking for other musical projects. Now, was there anything in the pipeline? Did you have anything before Cage Fight came along?
I tried so many things. There were a lot of fails, like some guitarists with bad intentions. I was pretty, cautious, and before Cage Fight, about the same time, there was Fear Factory. Dino messaged me, would you like to try a song for Fear Factory? And so I tried, and I said, but the thing is, I'm not looking to do clean singing. And he was like, oh, but you have to. And so I tried. He shared the song to try to see if people liked it. Then I tried another with clean singing, but he was trying so many people, and the Cage Fight came, so I just not insisted at all, because I made my choice that I wanted to be in a new project, and I prefer Cage Fight.
Could have been a very different journey, but it's nice that you actually had that opportunity then to stay true to actually what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
No clean singing, and just absolutely just kill it in cage fights. That's brilliant.
What is quite funny is as a teenage massive fanboy of Fear Factory, like Demanufacture and the Obsolete albums in particular, so I was mildly starstruck that Rach was, could be in Fear Factory. I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy. But yeah.
But of course, if before all of that you were in a band called Eths. We spoke about Eths across the last couple of shows, and we're going to play a track now from the band called Amaterasu. You might have to pronounce this for me.
I don't even know if we say it well. We say Amaterasu.
Oh, good. So similar to how I said it. That's lucky. Tell us a little bit about this track.
So yeah, it's so I did just with Eths. I just did an EP and an album, and this is in the album, and it's one of my favorite. I'm singing with a girl that became my friend, and I think it's a very cool duet. It has a lot of hidden meaning. It's really important. Yeah, I think it's the most complete song.
Well, here we go. This is Eths with Amaterasu. Adam here on Primordial Radio, joined by Cage Fight on the Radio Residency. And we've been playing some songs from bands you guys used to be in. Or I say used to be in James, it's very much the case that you're still in TesseracT. That was Eden. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, it's one of my favourite TesseracT songs that we never ever play live, really. And we kind of pulled it out for Portals, the live stream we did over COVID. And it was just really enjoyable. It's quite a difficult song to play. It's definitely one of the harder ones, and I think that's one of the reasons why we keep shying away from it, because sometimes it just doesn't quite click. But it's definitely one of my favourite TesseracT songs, and I'm hoping that one day we'll play it again. So this is me doing a little bit of shameless self-promotion of my other band, and if more people request that we play this, then we're obviously going to have to do it at some point. So yeah, if anyone's a TesseracT fan here, feel free to message the band saying play Eden live.
Yeah, I will message.
I'll message too, why not? Now, for you, are you very calm when you're playing these sort of songs? Because as you say, it's like quite technical. Yeah,
I mean, it's a very different approach. Like playing TesseracT stuff, you just need to be very calm and very zen and just go with the flow and not drink too much beer. I have too many beers that can go terribly wrong, so I have to be very well behaved with TesseracT. That's why I drink so much beer when I play a Cage Fight, I think, to make up for it.
How do you get in that zone then? To be, and I'm asking this purely, the listeners might get something from this, but for me, it's mainly because I'm just ridiculously interested. Like, how do you get that zen? How do you get into that mode? Because, I imagine if you had a tough day, you've not been able to park, you've, the loading's come in late, and you're getting a parking ticket outside. Like, how do you keep zen?
I think just for like a good hour before a set, I just literally try to stop doing whatever I'm doing and stop thinking about other things, because also I do sort of like work on the road. I need to basically stop doing that. I need to, not think about anything other than just relax, really, just take it easy, have a beer, just the one, maybe two, sit back and just relax, just get in a comfortable state of mind.
So talking of relaxing, we're going to go from relaxing into some hardcore that you guys are listening to at the minute, and some different contrasting bands as well. We're going to play a little bit of Life of Agony, River Runs Red. Tell us about that.
Again, this is another important band of my teenage years, and this album's actually turning 30 next year, I think.
I'm turning 30 this year. Is that album filled with fear?
I guess it must be. Yeah, but yeah, they were the first band to kind of mix that I'd ever heard, that mixed sort of melodic vocal with sort of punk rock chords and also very metally kind of like riffing. And I don't know, I think they're a really vital band of that whole New York scene in the 90s. And I'm going to go and see them play on their 30th anniversary tour of this album next year, and I'm very excited.
Fantastic. Well, let's get this track on now. This is Life of Agony, River Runs Red. Primordial Radio, it is the Radio Residency with Cage Fight. Rachel and James are sat on the screen in front of me, and they're going to tell me a little bit about a cover. A cover that they've done called Bitch in the Pit. Now, we can swear on Primordial, but it always, like a child, always makes me laugh a little bit when I say a naughty word on the radio. Tell me all about this cover, some body count.
I think because doing lots of covers has been a big part of our story, especially for Rach. We figured it'd be really fun to do a cover on the record. And we're all big body count fans. And then this one just seemed like the obvious one because the subject is quite relevant to what we're about, I think.
Yeah, we just changed the lyrics a little bit.
Yeah, there are moments where like we changed it because it's talking about the bitch in the pit, where in like the third person, whereas we switched it to the first person. So yeah, for obvious reasons.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, look, let's listen to it now. This is Body Count, not the Cage Fight cover. This is the original track. This is Body Count, Bitch in the Pit.
Primordial Radio.